When The Incredibles was released in 2004, the film was praised as being one of the few successful examples of the superhero concept from an independent source besides DC or Marvel. Also, the film dealt with the reasonings for superheroes on superheroines on an extended period of time without any sort of help from them in everyday American life. But the speculative scenario is this: did Mr. Incredible technically have an affair with Mirage? In the film, there were subtle references to something occurring with Bob and Mirage. The scenes from the film were what we all remembered, and from a casual point of view it was interpreted as a potential midlife crisis with Bob and him wanting to go back to being a superhero, not to only help people, but to give himself something to do besides be a family man, as it was mentioned by him that he wanted more from his life like it once was, before his children were born and before he became married to Helen. From a time with Mirage, it seemed like he had what he wanted once more, or was reminded of his life before he settled down to have a stereotypical American family of the 1950s. But from information now known, according to official canon, there were possibly references to an affair or something more. But what sort of affair, and what possibly could have happened? There were originally different scenes meant to display or inform aspects of the film to viewers. Some scenes were changed or modified from their original depictions, or even some scenes or concepts removed altogether. What was seen is that in the montage sequence, he had a new sense of self, clothes, a car for himself and Helen, his mood is better, he gets back into good physical condition, spends time with his family. While there was nothing more from this, the most disconcerting aspect of the original affair concept was when Helen discovered the hair upon Bob's suit. Nothing more was confirmed, as after being informed of the situation, Edna was neutral to slightly more disconcerting about Bob's situation. Pixar was very discreet with their depictions of these themes, on the multiple meanings with these themes. At first, Bob and Mirage were strictly professional, also during the early meetings with the both of them, everything was kept neutral on business related. Also during the meetings, they were both even a fair distance from one another. What changed was after Bob destroyed the robot, and that was the first sign that there could have been potentially something more between Bob and Mirage. Instances between the both of them then afterwards became more casual and even personal. The pair were depicted in closer proximity to each other. Mirage clearly mentions that she's attracted to power and authority. This was the reason why she was associated to Syndrome. But Mirage didn't see the records of Mr. Incredible. As to the status with Mr. Incredible in terms of a relationship, status, or even specific details about him, so she couldn't have known that he was married. Instead, she assumed that he was single, as this was clearly intentional from Pixar. According to opinions on theories, during the dinner between Bob and Mirage, as that was when the affair started, with multiple encounters or a single encounter taking place, as it was referred to that when Bob returned after that dinner was when Helen found the hair upon Bob's suit. A deleted scene from the movie had Helen actually confront Bob about it, but he shrugs it off without giving an exact explanation to Helen. The fact that Bob doesn't give a satisfactory answer to her is why she went to Edna looking for further answers to possibly explain what was happening with Bob. Speculations had the scene removed from the movie because it would have given interpretations to audiences that it was undoubtedly a fact that Bob was cheating on Helen with Mirage. When Helen and Mirage finally met, there was a forced smile and even an awkward wave from Mirage to Helen. So it's implied that Mirage later learned about Bob's particular details in terms of him being married, that he had a whole other side of him from Mr. Incredible, and that she was still perfectly fine with all of these known revelations. The premise is that according to what was depicted in the movie, were situations or details with circumstance. The premise, according to references on innuendo, is that Bob became Mr. Incredible once more with the help of Mirage was a technical affair. The premise, according to references, innuendo, on the original intentions from Pixar were that Bob might have had a literal affair. Unconfirmed sources had Mirage to return in some way with The Incredibles 2, released in 2018, but the actress Elizabeth Pena, who voiced Mirage from the 2004 film, died in 2014, so any reference to Mirage and Mr. Incredible might never truly be resolved.